recording for. Awesome.
Great.
So I have a couple questions for you. I think part of my this is like threefold, honestly. One, practice offer wise, have you seen how I send out the practice offers and how offers get sent?
I saw, you mean the emails?
Emails, yeah, the structure.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you have a copy of that template?
Yeah, I could bring it up.
Yeah, because it's on. I know it's on the Mentee doc. It's like copy and pastable. You just got to change the words from Tim Souza to, Sofiaan.
Okay.
What I would like to do is I'm going to share my screen. Please ignore half the crap.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
So as an example, UA.
Yeah. Anyways, I watched that whole video, by the way, with her off for the 1031 exchange.
You what?
I watched UA's, like the video that you recorded for the 1031 exchange or offer. Yeah, this one. This is the one that oh no, this is different.
It's a different.
But it's the same template.
Same template. So yeah, the value of the template is that
I like it.
On a high level, everybody knows what's inside of it, right? Because the document gets very long. So if I was to show you one that I just submitted the other day, it also is super short, but let's see. I typically go winning offer, and then maybe this is one that I wrote. Hi, Fred, right? So then all of my details I list here.
Okay.
Right. And so at a high level, it's this.
Yeah, I like that. Then they don't have to open up the purchase agreement or whatever.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, they still should, and they should do their job going through it. The purchase agreement, right? But a high level, this kind of makes everything easier. It gives us all one place to look. I have done that little synopsis since the old RPA, which was a lot less easy to read. So that's what made me do it. And I try to keep all of the things that are relevant in the market for negotiation as present as possible. So high level, I'd love to jump into yours, but this is my first piece is even when sending it to me, if you send something like this at a glance, if I don't have a lot of time to look through it, like I had a few minutes this morning, it gives me something to work off of for our conversation.
Okay.
So that being said, jumping into yours, I also never send via zip forms.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the video.
Gmail? There was a Gmail option. Yeah, I didn't use that, but I could have.
Yeah. Also, I always, if you haven't seen it, there's a video on the Working Mentee doc, or the Awesome Mentee doc, for how to go through. Sorry, that glitched here. Looking for the grid. Here it is. So in here, sky slope. Car forms to sky slope, this document or this video. Well, it's how I do all of my signing, and I take it into sky slope because basically if when you do get your offer accepted, everything's already uploaded, and so you can hand it over to Manny much easier. Because you can take different documents and move it all around. And SkySlope is how EXP tracks our transactions anyway. So definitely useful tool to look at. That being said, I have that's the first part. The second part is I have two responses to this. One, you're going to want your proof of funds and your pre-approval letters attached to this.
Okay, let me take some notes. Well, I just want to write this down.
Yeah. So at the first things, think of it like a story, right? You need to be able to say, here's our pre-approval letter. Here's our ability to do the down payment that we agreed to. So here's my partnership with my financing institution, right, to purchase this home. Now let me tell you how we're going to purchase this home, right? So you want to lead with that story of, look, finances and our ability to purchase isn't even the question. Let's talk about how we're going to do this. And that's what the RPA is for. Okay. So I always lead with those documents. As far as this is concerned, nicely done, California Inc. So a lot of people miss that on their first one. And then I just want to kind of jump straight into this. So nicely done, because you're both at different brokerages,
Yeah.
right? So even if you're with anybody else, EXP would be this other box, just for reaffirmation. And then I want to jump into this. So I see that you want to do 7.2, and my first in 60 days. My first question is, why 60 days?
That's what Ross picked. So you want to do 60 days, but you want to do 30 days is the standard, right?
30 is standard. I would do one of two things. His lender should be the one really dictating that timeline.
Okay.
So one of the things you need to do, one of the things you need to do is get on the phone with that lender.
I was worried about that too.
Yeah, and have that conversation. Ross, it's Ross's relationship with the lender, but you need to have that lender's contact info so that you can do things like dictate this timeline and others to follow. And we'll talk about the other ones that you left blank. So that's number one. Number two,
but there could be another reason. So I should ask Ross why he chose. Yeah.
And you're going to need to know the why, because you're going to have to talk to Frank about it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the guy's name, right? Yeah. So Frank. So then this one, huge, trying to get it the faster, the better. I don't care what size how much money it is, what it looks like. There are some government mandated rate timelines, as in you can't close faster than 10 days with financing. However, with large amounts like this, sometimes you want it to take a little bit longer for your due diligence.
Yeah.
Okay. The second piece is this timeline, June 19th. You're going to want to change that.
Yeah.
Because you're preparing it on the 21st.
Right.
At the very,
I don't know where that date came from.
It's okay. 3 calendar days after. So this is the expiration of the offer, right? This.
Okay. That was when we were first going to put the offer in. Yeah. That's gotta change that.
Yeah. So 3 calendar days. I would just leave it as default unless you want I wouldn't force a 24-hour response if I was you. The market it's not on the open market, so there's no need for that. Okay.
So I just take away the date and I should be good.
Yeah, just take away the date and you should be fine, because it'll default
to
the first part if you haven't edited anything.
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, please. The next one is this initial deposit at 10,000 down. What's the concept there?
He wants to do the smallest down payment for whatever reason. I don't know. And that's what he just said. So.
Okay. Typically, each area is going to look different. Okay. So that's an insulting number at this point.
Okay.
Okay. So typically down earnest money deposits range between 1% and 3%. Okay. California maxes them at 3%. You can put 10% down and they would be forced to give you 7% back if you backed away, because California maxes at 3% as far as what the seller can take from the buyer. Okay. So typically different regions have different percentages there. So I can tell you that in Fresno, it's 1% down is a baseline. In here on the Central Coast, 1.5 to 2% is about normal, right? To be baseline, right? Now, obviously 3% is going to look better no matter where you go. And then when you hit places like LA and San Francisco, 3% is pretty established. Like you put 3% down. So if he's wanting to do a baseline, it needs to be closer to a 1% number to not look insulting, right?
Okay, let me write that. Yeah.
So at the very, very least, I would encourage, and I know 1% is what, basically 700. He can get that back until all contingencies are released.
Okay.
Right. So there's not any real risk for him doing that, other than he has to physically write the check and to not be insulting.
Okay.
We're just dealing with much larger numbers, so the other numbers also get bigger. Right. Okay. That's just a part of it. I wouldn't. I mean, at the very least, 100,000. Make the number look.
Yeah.
Bigger. Big. The percentage piece didn't used to be next to it, and now that it is, it makes it.
It looks pretty bad.
Looks pretty bad. So I would just make it look better. Optics here, it's not always about optics, but here in this case, I feel like it is. Okay, so then, and there's no increased deposits. That would be different if it was, increased deposit.
He might be okay with doing an increased deposit because we were talking about that on the top level form. It has the increase.
Yeah. So if you were to increase this from like, 10,000 immediately to open escrow, and after inspections, I'll put the other few percent down.
Maybe I'll push it to him in that one. So what percentage do you think, or what amount would be good for increase?
I mean, if you wanted to increase it to the actual like percentage it should be,
1%,
2%, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Right. And you can check it upon the removal of inspection contingencies, or upon the
So
removal.
they're not going to do an inspection, by the way. So they want to waive the inspection contingency.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Or upon the
Okay.
removal of the appraisal contingency.
Okay.
Right. Like you can fill this in. That's the value of this.
Great.
Okay. So that would be my recommendation, is that you're allowed to do that. Remember that anything you put in here is going to be debiting away from this.
Wait. Anything I put in there is doing what?
So it's going to basically, if this is your total, your purchase price, it'll be it'll take it out of that, right? It'll minus. So additional financed rate required. So he's if I understand this properly, he has a jumbo loan here for 69% of it, and then he had to get a second loan, which is is this an arm? No, just
I don't know.
Okay, he has to get a second loan of some kind for 500 to bridge the rest, right?
So that means that would be helpful to speak to the lender to understand.
I would understand this structure. Do you have these pre-approvals?
I don't, but he's told me that he has been pre-approved, and so I just need to get the docs.
You need the docs to submit the offer. Otherwise, it's a useless offer. So yeah, but talk to the lender, figure out what that looks like, because sometimes they make this one. This is called a second. Sometimes they make it a silent second. And if it's a silent second, it doesn't need to be written on here. You can just write this for 5.5.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So talking to the lender and figuring that out, valuable. Because it allows you to present this better. Primary, great. And then obviously that's how the numbers add up. So he's bringing 1.7 to the table. Okay. This page, little bit of blank. So do you have any questions about this one, first off?
Yeah, I'm looking at, like in zip forms, the high level form, because I just basically said, like, here you go, Ross, you can start filling in the details. So he may have put in, I don't know why it says second for the 500K. I don't remember where that came from, but yeah, let's, I'll need to ask him.
You need to
could
ask,
be just,
and finding out from the lender is going to be very important.
Okay.
Yeah. And talking to him to see if he's working with the same lender for both, or like if he's using a bank, or like, also very valuable, because you can't, just so you know, you really should only be running one credit line when you're doing a real estate transaction, right? Because you don't want all of a sudden on the last day, let's just say it's day 59 here, they run it again and they see that there's another loan being processed, and they didn't take that into debt to income accounts, and it could change rates. We just don't want that. So high level, double check all of that, just to avoid bumps down the road. And any listing agent that's good is going to want to know all of that detail. Okay. Right.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long time. This guy's like since 1994 or something. So
yeah, good. Well, I mean, he's probably a great lender. You need you to know all the information that's in his head that is applicable for the transaction.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it once you learn. Okay, coming down here, there's no seller credits. This additional finance terms, is there anything here that any other things that Ross is wanting to do?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then if there was any other, so for example, if it was like also going to purchase the gazebo for, $5,000, that would go in here. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's everything that with the house as is,
Yeah, no, at that price point it should be. But that being said, I'm only letting you know for future reference. Okay. Verification of all cash. Yeah, you're going to need a copy of that 1.7 amount in a bank account attached to the offer as well.
So I'll write that down.
Right. So it's not an all cash offer, but this verification of down payment and closing costs, that amount needs to be provided to the.
So just like a bank statement or something like that.
A bank statement. What it needs to have is the name of the bank, the name of the client, and the amount. You don't need to have bank like account numbers.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You just need to say, in Bank of America, I have $2 million. And then everyone's like, great, that's perfect, because they're going to have to know closing costs and down payment pieces.
And that comes from the bank, that letter? So it's just like a letter of.
I know you can screenshot it. I can go onto my, get a bank statement off of line and print it.
Oh, okay, right. So without, it's just a screenshot. Okay.
A screenshot works. It just needs to be turned into a PDF so you can attach it to this. And that actually, if you just drag it into SkySlope, it'll turn it into the PDF for you. Just as a FYI.
Okay.
And then this is the verification of loan application. This is the pre-approval letter itself. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you for a sec. So, and then what you're going to want to do is check this box, this pre-approval box. Okay. The difference between a pre-qualification, a pre-approval, and a fully underwritten pre-approval is a pre-qualification is you have a heartbeat and a credit score. Congrats. Right. A pre-approval is we've actually run you by, like, we've collected everything. We know your debt to income. We know, any child support payments that you have to make or that you have to receive. We know what your taxes look like. We know we've contacted your boss. We have a letter of employment, all of that stuff, right? You've already gone through that process versus going through that process during escrow, which makes the buyer more solid, right? Than just having a credit score. The last one, the fully underwritten pre-approval, is we've taken all of that information we got for your pre-approval. We've run it by the underwriting team, and all we are waiting for is a house to plug in.
So he might be at that stage.
He might
be fully underwritten pre-approval. Yeah.
Most likely he is at this point. So if you have this one, that's an incredibly solid offer, because all they're saying is it's a TBD loan, which is they come in and they're like, hey, we just need the appraisal, and then we can process that. Typically, when that's the case, you see closings in like 15 to 20 days.
Okay.
Right. Just so that you know. And that's another part of that conversation you need to have with lenders. What level of pre-approval? If they say, oh, we only give pre-qualifications, which some lenders do, which is annoying, just say, okay, then if you don't mind, I'm going to get them cross-qualified so we can have an actual pre-approval letter to show that they have the ability to purchase. Right. Most lenders will then at some point go from pre-qualification and change their policies and give you pre-approval because they want to be the one to work with the client. Right. They're just being annoying. Like Bank of America is an example. I like to pick on them. They're horrible. Never use them. They will not give you a pre-approval. They will only give you pre-qualification. And right now, that's not going to get an offer accepted in this market. And no matter how many times you tell them, they just don't care because they're big and they've got a lot of money.
So they got to be missing out on the.
They are, but at the same time, Bank of America is not, their primary business is not writing loans.
Yeah.
It's an arm of their business, right? That's not the primary thing they do. That's why we work with lenders. So that's the question that you have. And I would definitely ask, you want it as close to that fully underwritten as possible. That's short of that is cash, right? Is the best offer. Final verification of condition. This is your final walkthrough, and typically 5 days is plenty of time. It's basically a week before close. You get to go in and make sure that everything's in the same condition because your clients are currently living there. That's kind of a moot point in all honesty, but it's still good you still should go through the process as Sofiaan to do that, right? With your, to go through the final walkthrough process, make sure everything's in the same condition as it was when you agreed to purchase the home. This came about and became really important after 2008, 2009, when people were leaving their houses very disgruntled, pouring cement down the drains, taking cabinetry with them, that kind of thing. You guys aren't really worried about that, but that's double checking.
So these can just be left blank.
Those can be left blank. The reassignment request, this is when you're going to have multiple people on the loan, or you need to add people to a trust or that kind of thing. That's what this looks like. You've got 17 days to make sure that all parties are aware. Okay. This is the piece that was interesting that you left blank. So
Yes.
loans, the loan and appraisal timelines, you need to talk with the lender.
I think that's fine, right?
It is.
I mean, yeah, so the lender will tell us however many days that is.
But you need to talk with the lender beforehand and say, how fast can you do this?
Okay.
Right. And so if it is a TBD loan, this loan contingency is going to be able to close the day after the appraisal. So if they can get an appraiser out there in 10 days, right, then this should be, 13 days, right? Anything that you change it to is going to make it look more aggressive. 17, these all used to be different numbers. Okay. The state just randomly chose the number 17 and put it on all the documents. It has nothing to do with the way the practice has traditionally worked, because loan is traditionally 21 days, appraisal was traditionally 21 days, investigation was 14 days. Why they chose 17, Lord knows. So don't always go with the default, and unless for some reason you have very amicable sellers. So I would call the lender and figure out what those timelines are. And then if they want to remove the investigation contingency, which is the inspection contingency, this is where this is right here.
That's L3. Okay.
L3. And so you're going to need
right
to, yeah, and you're going to need to check this box that says CR attached.
Which one? Sorry, move your cursor. Oh yeah,
this one. Check that box. Okay. And if you were removing either of these, you'd also
contingency removal. Okay.
Yeah, you'd also check that box. Okay. So loan contingency, I'm guessing they're not removing that one.
No, not appraisal either.
Not appraisal either. So I would check this box, and I would for the investigation contingency. When you check this box,
it adds a form.
It adds a form, and I might have a copy of that form. Give me a second.
I'm gonna do it right now, so it generates the form.
Yeah. Hold on. Working documents.
Yeah, thanks for spending the time with me today, man.
Oh, no,
I really appreciate it.
You're good. So this is what the document looks like. This is on another file. Okay. So it'll have all of the property information up here, and all of these boxes. If you're just checking the investigation box, right? I would come down here and put all buyer contingencies removed, except, and then the loan and the appraisal.
Okay.
Right. Is there an HOA?
No HOA.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, those are the only two. You could go through and be like, buyer only removes entire buyer's investigation contingency here if you wanted to.
Okay.
Right. It really depends on the strategy you want to take. By checking this one.
Wait, which one? Sorry. Oh yeah.
Actually, what I would end up doing is I would probably check investigation box.
Just the C1.
I would do C1 only because I'm looking at this again, and I want you to be able to have the preliminary title report review, just in case there's something on title, because I know that was a worry of yours. So
yeah. So click the what is it? 2C1.
2C1, and that's it. And then you have them sign.
So do I still need to do all buyer contingency removed on 3?
No.
Check that except loan. Okay, great.
No.
So just that one check. That's it.
Only because I forgot that you wanted to be able to see title. So
okay.
Yeah, because if you do this one, it means you really don't care about the rest of this. But you do. You mentioned you wanted the title report. So that's what I would jump in and do. And the way that I would write those is, or put that into an order, is I would come in here and I would go, just so you can see, there's a pre-approval letter, right? There's the offer, the actual RPA. And then after the RPA, you'll have your, goodness, the RPA is freaking long. After the RPA is where I would put the, yeah, right before this, right here, I put the CR removal, okay? Directly following, before you have all of your additional documents. I forgot that this guy didn't have that done. So if I did,
and this is in SkySlope. So at what point do I put it in SkySlope because right now I'm still editing it in zip forms.
Yeah. So as soon as you're done editing it and filling it in, I drag it into SkySlope for signatures.
Okay.
And extract the document. So here it is, right? So what I ended up doing is I have, this is the end of the RPA, California Consumer Privacy stuff that's already attached. I have an additional signatory because I had 3 people, right? So I added the additional signatory so that everybody knew who the last person was signing all those documents. And then the contingency removal. And after the contingency removal, I put the lease after sale agreement. And after the lease after sale agreement,
what's the lease after sale agreement?
So these guys particularly were leaving the sellers in the property for like 3 months after.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So letting him like a lease back.
A lease back, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And then after that is the other document that you're missing, which is the statewide buyer and seller advisory. Okay.
How do I get that generated?
I'll show you.
Okay.
So, but that's the order that those go in. So coming in here, make sure your CR is attached.
Yeah, I did that. I've got it in my group of forms now.
Review of seller documents. You're probably not going to get these until you go into escrow. So you're allowed to leave these at 17 days.
Blank. Okay.
Yeah. These are more seller contingencies. Just know that after you have 5 days.
Hang on a second. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm in here. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. You've got 5 days after receipt, right? So if they give it to you on day 16, you have until day 21 to review those documents and walk away.
Okay.
Right? And get your earnest money back. Okay. So it's in their best interest to actually have all this information to you before you put in an offer, which is why
where does 21 days come from?
17 days. So I said 17.
Hang on. I'm just trying to tell this person. Hey, hi. Yeah, sorry. You just put this one here. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks. I guess they can't hear me through the door. All right.
Okay. So the way that works is you have 17 days to get the documents over to review them, right? But it's or 5 days after receipt, whichever is later, right? So if you got those documents on day 16, you have 5 days to review them. So 16 plus 5 is 21.
Okay.
Right. So the goal, the reason I look at you guys and I say put all these documents on before, like on the MLS, so people can review them before they put an offer, is you eliminate this whole section of seller and buyer rights. So you can actually get the buyer. You don't give buyers extra days to walk away, right? Okay. But because you guys don't have these, it works in favor, right? So it's the strategy on what side of the board are you playing. That being said, your buyers don't have any property to sell, to purchase, so you're good there. If he was liquidating a property to purchase the one that he's living in, this might be applicable, right? If that was where the funds were coming from. Time of possession, this is fine to leave blank because at notice of recording. Tenant occupied units, you are the tenant purchasing, so you should be okay. Manny might inform you if that needs to be filled in. There's no seller in possession because the buyers are purchasing it, so this can all be left blank, which is fine. And these can all be left blank really because you don't have HOA, right? This 5 days is perfectly fine because when you go and put your earnest money in, you can take care of that. Seller delivery of documents, see how it's 7 days, but you then have 17 to review, right? If sellers don't get you those documents until, again, day 16, these terms come into play and apply. So these are all fine to leave blank.
Okay.
The one that I was most concerned about is that you left loan and investigation and appraisal contingency blank.
Right. So those three, and that the loan and appraisal, I'll get that information from the lender, and then the investigation I checked the CR attached, so they're going to waive that. And
you're also going to want to get this from the lender, right? The
pre-approval.
And you're going to want to get this verification from your client.
Verification down payment, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
so
got it.
Those are the pieces.
Like a screenshot.
Right. These are the pieces that really, flagged me. This should have some numbers on it.
Yes, that's exactly what they said too. They're like, why is this whole page blank? You shouldn't have something checked.
Something should be checked. Yes. So then coming into here, I'm going to assume that you've already gone over all of these and that these all exist in the home. If there's anything that is excluded from the sale explicitly, make sure that it's explicitly put in here. Okay, that's my one piece there. And then this is also all blank, which made me ask questions. So what I would do in this scenario is mark seller, okay, and then put provided by seller's choice.
So Q1 seller.
Because if they choose to go sell the house to someone else, that should be an expense that's on them, right? Because they'll have to provide that again.
So when I click on the zip form, it just has a drop down. Doesn't have seller's choice on there.
You can type in seller's choice.
It has my NHD best value. No. Okay. So just type it in.
Just seller's choice.
Choice. Okay.
And then smoke alarms, water detector, water heater bracing, that should be seller.
Okay. Smoke alarms. Where's the water heater? Oh yeah, yes, that's the same thing. Okay, seller. Okay, got that.
Escrow fees, if your buyer's willing to pay them, put them on there. If not, I check both and I put 50-50.
I'll just put both for now.
Yeah, both means 50-50, but afterwards you can fill it in and say, I put 50-50 as customary, but I don't know if it's customary in that area.
I'll put it in as 50-50.
Yeah.
Sounds fair to me.
Yeah. So that's escrow fees. This title insurance policy is probably the most expensive box you can mistake. So please put seller.
Okay.
Yes. Also, escrow holder, I put seller's choice unless they have someone they've given you explicitly to name.
Where's escrow holder? So, did I do that already?
No, it's blank. So if you look on my screen, it shows escrow fees.
119B. Oh yeah, escrow fees. I put both 50-50.
Right.
So escrow holder. So what do I do for that one? There's a drop down here.
Yeah, if unless they've filled, like in the MLS, he says escrow to be with, Adrian at Placer Title.
Oh, we don't have it yet.
Yeah, okay, then so seller's choice.
Seller's choice.
Yeah, because you want the preliminary title report. Have whoever they had do the preliminary title report is going to be your escrow person. Right. And so that's why it's just easier to default to that, unless you had someone you absolutely trusted, but because it's down in an area that's not
Pacific Palisades.
There might be, water requirements or something that you're not aware of that a local escrow is going to be better at dealing with. Okay. City transfer tax fees, county transfer tax fees, both seller. Okay. And then
no HOA.
There's no HOA, so you can leave that blank. If there are any private transfer fees, I don't know in the Palisades if there are.
No either.
Yeah, I would leave it blank because it defaults to seller.
Okay. Defaults to seller. Yeah, seller. Yeah, I like that.
Leave it blank.
Okay, I'll leave that blank.
Home warranty plan. I either would make the buyer do it, or put buyer waives the right to a home warranty plan, which means they just deal with it outside of escrow.
Okay, so I'll do that. Buyer waives home warranty plan.
I just say buyer waives it, and then what you do when you look at your clients is say, look, I highly recommend you get one. Here's the links, and on my awesome Mentee doc, there's an email template that you can copy and paste with that. You're like, here are the links. Highly recommend you get one. We're just not going to do it inside of escrow because right now that could cause trip hazards and elongate the process. Right? I'd rather them be able to shop around and get the best home warranty plan for their lifestyle. Again, most of what I try to do on this document is avoid potential trip hazards through the process. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
And then other than that, the one piece that I want to make sure you checked is this box right here, the statewide seller advisory form.
Okay, great.
When you check that box, it adds it to car forms as a separate document. You go into that separate document and you fill it in. That is required.
Yeah, it's adding it.
Yeah, that's required by EXP. Just so you know.
Okay, so I'll start filling that in.
It's a really simple document. It's really reiterative of a lot of the things that are on the RPA, but really it's just the last page you have to worry about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So I just always scroll immediately down to the last page and then fill it in.
Most of it's filled in already.
Yeah. Perfect. And then otherwise, dates are missing. There might be one of those local disclosures that you might not be aware of that needs to go in there. And I would talk to, you can leave it blank and then Escrow or Manny will fix it.
Okay.
The only other thing that I'd want you to be aware of is this section here.
Yeah.
Designated electronic delivery address. The interesting thing about this space is if you fill this in, this means that you, upon receipt of something in your inbox. So if it gets delivered at, like when you sent this to me last night at midnight, that is when the timer starts. Versus, yeah, if you don't fill this in and you leave this section blank, when you reply received, that's when the timer starts.
Okay, let's leave it blank then.
Yes, that is my recommendation.
God damn it, those bastards! Why do they screw us over like this, man?
It's because they tried to. I sat through the 4-hour training and he went off on for 45 minutes on how important those lines were because, they just want to make things more efficient. And you're like, and it solves legal questions and problems, right? So the second that they have this in here, if we don't choose to put it in, then we are agreeing to something versus putting it in that we're agreeing to something. And technically it's written in this document somewhere, but that's what it is. So just FYI.
I'm gonna change it. So shall I leave Frank's email in there though? Because that will mess him up. So just take away all my email addresses, just basically. And
take away the email address and the phone number and then this address. This section. Yeah, because you've already put it in other places where our office is. It does not need to be there. As far as Frank's, I would remove it just to be kind. It's a small kindness. It's not I mean, most people aren't aware if they didn't sit through the state training, but that's
all right. So get rid of my address and then Frank's stuff too.
Okay. Otherwise, yeah, the second it hits the inbox, and no one checked that. I think it's stupid personally because that means that we can start timelines at 3 a.m, and that is just I'm not working at 3 a.m. That's not happening.
So get rid of the buyer's brokerage firm as well, or the seller's brokerage firm, or leave those fine. Those are fine.
Let me come back down here. I'm so sorry. No. Leave this information in.
Okay, good. Just the designated electronic.
Yes, designated electronic email addresses.
Got it. Okay.
That's why it says next to be filled out by seller's agent. But yes, other than that, this looks great. I think the rest of it's fine. You just have some questions you need to answer. Okay. In this space here and around these loan pieces. But great first shot.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I just left this stuff blank that I didn't understand or know what I was doing. Shit.
Perfect.
Yeah, this hopefully this COVID doesn't last too long. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping.
No problem, friend. I'm gonna go ahead and stop our recording here.